He actually seems like he's a StarCraft 2 fan who actually found Brood War later in life and then now is the most obnoxious Brood War fan. I cannot believe how many people are like that. All right, bottom right is Spirit, top left is Harstem. I was talking about with Twitch chat for the YouTubers out there. Guy makes video about Dead StarCraft 2, what else is new? Clickbaity, overly negative, real weird shit, actually, in my opinion. Like, he's weirdly hateful. And then my guess off of what, the 31-minute video that this guy did and the comments he made on the video, so I know nothing about this guy except for that, was that he came across as a StarCraft 2 fan who got into it when StarCraft 2 was released, who's been with it for a while, but then got soured at some point due to a meta, due to his own insufficient skill, whatever. Who's absolutely correct about how much Activision Blizzard has failed us and the community as a whole and blah, 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 blah. But then he also comes off as the guy who did all this, found Brood War at some point, like maybe when Remastered came out, decided that being the elitist, superior Brood War fan was better than being a StarCraft 2 fan, and then didn't only appreciate Brood War, but then also jumped hardcore onto the elitist Brood War train. And I was just laughing because this sounds like a totally hypothetical, made-up scenario. Who would ever do that? But there are definitely people I have known who have done that, who have gotten into the Brood War scene and then proceeded to have varying levels of negativity to StarCraft 2, even though that's what originally they loved. The weird thing. Video game. Tribalism, I guess. Whatever. I mean, I occasionally come out with elitist perspectives from the Brood War side of things. Like, I do think it's terrible that you guys get to count your SCVs on your command center. How noob-friendly is that shit? But I like to say that I balance my... Brood War had good things about it that I wish we could implement into StarCraft 2. And StarCraft 2 is massively more friendly to the modern era and has a lot of really good things going for it. And... obviously I made my job off of it. So. You could say I'm biased in all these regards, but everyone's biased in some way. Alright, let's talk about the game. 2.5 minutes in, we're just getting to the basis of the really interesting stuff. High ground command center from Spirit. Not a surprise considering that the Protoss player can be a little aggressive. This is Harstem though. Not like a hero or a Max Pax. Harstem, I'm sure, does throw out aggressive builds, and I think he has some very interesting Protoss strategies and ideals. Like, he can play late game PvZ in a way that I just don't see many other Protoss play it. But I wouldn't necessarily call him aggressive. I would not call Harstem an aggressive Protoss. So, Spirit, one side maybe a little concerned about an opening, but then other side of things, literally this is the easiest way to deal with whatever they throw at you. You don't have to worry about the bunker timing in case you weren't going to be going for enough Marines. You don't have to worry about the SCV microing around the command center in case the depth shade past the said bunker. It is kind of annoying. And if it's that, then I can almost, respect it, even though there's a lot of things that pro gamers do that are annoying or frustrating or plain difficult that they're supposed to do because they're pro gamers. There is also something to be said about mitigating difficulty as much as possible for your own human limitations, Oh, I can't do that. I'll try and find an alternative way to fix it instead. Distribute what you're thinking of in StarCraft. But just to be clear, I mean, this does hit you economically, the high ground command center, but it does keep you safe, and there are absolutely Protoss openers that would try and take advantage of the specific opener the Spirit did. We saw that there were no Reapers, just the Marines, and without that Reaper at least keeping a unit back, we also have that lack of scouting. It can be a bit dangerous. Now a bunker is on the way, which makes sense. Not totally scared of a Protoss player, not quaking in his boots, but giving them the proper respect. Now we got our sub 4.5 minute drop, actually. That is going to also get some scouting, and that's arguably what it is doing the most of. At this point, with the third Nexus scouted by the Cyclone, you actually are not as worried about scouting the main base. It's probably Blink, and indeed it was, and Blink is in fact done. That was a very risky pickup. But to be fair, that was an earlier drop, and a slightly earlier Blink, I guess. Chronos did go into it. Possible that was 10 seconds away from finishing. Medevac lives, but now it's very much near death. Raven has popped out for Spirit. He's going to tuck that into the little angle here and probably attack, well, the natural, like, actually. The third is taken over in the triangle and not the vertical, so I need to change that. If it's vertical expansion, you're also harassing that base, but in this situation, you might tuck it over here. Doesn't seem really worth it. I don't know. You're kind of more locked into one base when you go into those. Spirit loves this wall on this map. He actually generally does it, I think, a little bit better with the starport positioning, this time using supply depots. It's kind of funny that he's continuing to emphasize this anti-blink stalker walling on both his main and his natural, when he has confirmed that it was the third nexus. I mean, you could still have X number of stalkers if you're warping inconsistently, but... And you could solve a warp prison. But the point, it would be way less harsh. It'd be something you absolutely should take care of without the help of some SimCity. But I guess this does make it so, yeah, even harassing stalkers are less likely to try. And it might help out later on as far as the natural goes against wall-offs. You know, zealots. I can see that. Four stalkers just chilling on the front, waiting for the push out. Some of them getting kind of injured, though. They might actually die. Ooh, one dies. Second one's very, very injured. Two SCVs went down, just with that little pokey poke. Harstem is moving on to Colossus. This has dominated this matchup for the past 6 months. We still have some different openers, of course, but if you're Blink 2-gating into third Nexus, which I assume this was a 2-gate, could have been greedier. 2-gating into third Nexus, Colossus, and then whatever else as far as minerals go, you put into Zealots. You don't have a lot of gas with this, but it's not the worst amount of gas either, especially if that fifth was actually taken. Or was that this fourth gas? That's its fourth gas, my bad. Yeah, then 4 is kind of what you would want. It's just that he's taking one on the outskirts, which he might not be prepared to defend. One of mine's popping off. A lot of Marines. Those Zealots are getting chewed up right there. Just for Marauder slow, but now that is finished, this Immortal could be a target. Looks like the bio is a little too injured with the promising second warp-in about to happen. We do have Spirit skedaddling, and then miss-microing his Raven. No excuse for that. Looked like a plain old F2. Everyone makes mistakes. Ghost Academy's on the way as Spirit takes his third CC. That's actually kind of fast. That's actually, I feel, really fast. Like, for what we're seeing. I mean, 3 CC, when your SCVs are over there mining and it's an orbital, then Ghost Academy. You see that all the time. Certainly, if they are clearly going into Archons and Storm, faster Ghost Academy could be prudent. This is absolutely not that. This is 100%, again, what a lot of Protoss have been doing off of that Blink 2-gate Nexus, Colossus, and then Mass Zealots and Gateway units. Which, I mean, Ghosts are helpful. It's just a matter of can you afford Ghosts, is literally the question. As opposed to the amount of Marauders you would be building up still, but it looks like this could actually be a win right here. Harstem overvaluing his army. I do not blame him whatsoever. I thought he was also okay to tackle that, with the Immortal helping out against the chonky Marauders, the Colossus to deplete the Marines. It seems like a perfect combo, but numbers are too good here. Spirit also with a surplus of Medivacs had individual healing for a while. That certainly helped those Marauders last through all those attacks. And Spirit is eventually pushed away, but that was a bigger loss than Harstem or I was anticipating. Losing the Immortal especially, because that thing was a powerhouse. 23 Zealots have gone down, 10 Stalkers as well. The Sentries that were built having to be rebuilt for that Guardian Shield. Again, you don't have that much gas, so not that you could, I guess, go into Archons or Storm at this point before the second attack is on the way, but you have no, I guess, like, sometimes you're a Protoss player, you almost die, you're like, phew, thank God I lived. Oh, look at that, 800 gas, here's 4 Archons. 2 Archons. 2.5 Archons. That doesn't happen here, obviously. But you do have, hopefully, a decent number of gateways, and 7 is, I guess, fine, because he's spending his money fine, so never mind, it's fine. I feel like I've seen people go up to 8 for sure. But also a supply block now. Whoopsie daisy. You are going to be able to replenish your gateway army pretty quickly. And so it's whether or not Spirit can keep up the aggression, but you did have to back away for a little while, but coming on back here, just a little tiny group of units killing a shield battery and killing the reinforcing units as well. Not enough gateways, not enough minerals, whatever it was. 2 Zealots could have been microed against, but I think just the promise of more return, more gate units was kind of threatening there. And then the Zealots are returning some of that damage. 8 SCVs do go down before the Ghosts come in and clean things up. The rest of the army also was trying to backpack back home all the way off to the right side as it was. 2-2 is on the way for the Terran. +2 is done for Harstem, quickly chronoing that +1 armor. No second forge. Seems like that might be on purpose. This means that Harstem might have overestimated his position in the middle of the map. He doesn't let that snowball. He doesn't just continue making really bad mistakes because he's trying to make up for something. He does get his 4th base up and running. He will ideally have a shield battery that's also on the front line once again. However, EMP also hit a lot of the stalkers, now hitting that shield battery, which is being focus fired. And down goes the shield battery. Can the Colossus do the trick? 3 of them still firing strong, but those Vikings are on the chase. They're on the hunt, and that'll be too much. A Spirit consolidates his army and pushes. He chooses the exact right time to do so. Really nice rhythm there from Spirit. Very nice continuation of attacks. You know, it's the harassment, the attack, the imbalanced battle that Harstem, you know, hindsight 2020 probably shouldn't have taken out there. And then consolidating all at that left side, which Harstem was just seconds away from being a little more prepped. Because if he had not lost the first shield battery to that tiny little drop, that would have been done. Maybe a second shield battery actually would have been finishing instead, and then that's at least some type of healing. Maybe you actually are in... maybe you actually are in the position then on the front of the shield battery, on the front of the Nexus, to take advantage of the choke. Good guy Spirit, making sure all the casters are in. And then if you have a shield battery overcharge that is properly protected and your Colossus are utilizing that choke at the 4th base, as good as they can, I don't think that battle ends in Spirit's win. Like, he might have won the battle, but the war is still going. And instead, Harstem was just seconds away from really being, I think, as best set up as he could be after that kind of mistaken fight. In the bottom position, up 1 now, it is Spirit. And at the top of Amphion, it is Harstem. He really, I can't help but get stuck on that attack, that defense. Harstem kind of moved out to engage, thinking he might get the better end. And if he just barely gets the better trade in that engagement, he actually gets a much better trade because his stalkers can give chase. So it's one of those things where mano a mano, the battle might actually look kind of similar, more similar than it was, like tit for tat. But then Harstem gets to chase the medevacs down with his blink stalkers. 3 medevacs go down. Any reinforcements that were being rallied also go down. And then it becomes just like a straight up victory for him. And I think that's the kind of towing the line that Harstem was trying to do. Not that he looked at the army at the front of his base and went, no issue. Like, he probably respected it, but figured, I have just barely enough. Let's work this out. And that actually was not the case. And then just, I'm sure, minor mistakes every which other way that we look. But I really gotta, again, applaud Spirit's fluidity. Feels like he's playing very fluid games of StarCraft, even the games in his TvT, which he was absolutely favored to win, but still. I thought it was, his recovery is looking really nice. You don't see the usual hiccups that you do when, you know, a Terran player kind of looks a little stuck, like, okay, should I attack left or right? Should I combine my army? Should I doom drop? We got a very decisive play here from Spirit, as if he's following a build order past his infrastructure, as if his build order also includes first attack left, then attack right, then combine together, then go for the drop, then check my Widow Mine drop. It's all very practiced looking. Spirit playing some fine StarCraft 2. Harstem just a little shy. Just a little. Max Pax is waiting in the semifinal for the winner of Skilless versus Battlebee. This match is going to go into the semifinal as well versus the winner of Christianer versus Raynor. So I'm going to guess it's Raynor. He has been playing Zerg. I don't think we'll see him play any random or off race leading up the EWC. So, a 1-1-1 setup for Spirit. Different 1-1-1, however, this time around. A little bit of play around the command center as well this time, too, and that is the annoying factor I was talking about. Almost perfect timing there for Spirit, but kind of almost perfect timing for Harstem, too. Ideally gets that Adept out with full health. But, you know, it's gotta be something there. Because those Marines popped out at a really, really good time. Now it's 2 Adepts, but a Cyclone. It's kind of working out just barely enough in favor of Spirit. So, unfortunate. You know, if this was the Widowmine drop again, then there's really not an issue with what Harstem did right there. You can successfully avoid the Widowmine. It's pretty obvious when it's trying to defend. Cyclone is a different issue. So, Harstem, he is going into a different follow-up. Oracle, actually, into Phoenix. So, Phoenix Colossus will be the ultimate composition. But this Oracle is going to try and find some damage, hoping the Cyclone was still out of position, perhaps, but that was actually a second Cyclone. So he was not incorrect. That first one was completely out of position. The second Cyclone came around, and we do have the third Cyclone actually already being built. So this is kind of interesting, because the second Cyclone was absolutely built prior to the Oracle, but he could have been 2 Cyclone medevac drop with Marine. Yeah, like any combination of these units in the medevac or on the front lines. We see that all the time. But then the third Cyclone is actually a little extra that you would see against someone going Stargate, but I think it was built before the Oracle revealed itself. So I'm not sure if I'm wrong about that. It was coincidental. If Spirit is figuring it's Amphion, of course this guy's going to build Phoenix. Either way. Third Cyclone is a good idea. Fourth, obviously, on the way as well. That anti-air and anti-ground property. It's pretty good. It can shoot up and down. It's good. It's also good as a shield battery. Fairly well protected. I was gonna say I'm a little scared about that pylon. It's powering 1/2 of his production of gateways, and his robo and his shield battery. So if this died, everything would die. He would die. So even though it's unlikely this army sacks itself in an attempt to get that pylon, you don't want to chance it. Oh, second pylon's always better. Immortal's now out as well. Another Warping as well. Phoenix as well. Like, yeah, this is probably gone on too long for Spirit to get an easy peasy win. It's always nice, but you shouldn't expect it. And Harstem, he's trying to, again, toe this line this time around, respecting the army, but making sure his economy doesn't fall behind. So I don't think he really ever wants to move out against this, especially with reinforcements potentially on the way. Although he does have a stasis trap, so... Actually, and maybe he should have given chase, knowing that the stasis trap could wreck him. Okay, what the hell? Oh, he's trying to find the Oracle, and in the process, avoids the stasis trap. That's so funny. The Oracle is its own undoing, you know? And now, okay, apparently there is no hidden spot for that Oracle, so now no more scouting, no more stasis traps. Arguably a waste of resources. I'm not sure that Oracle was really worth it, you know? You can't know that before you make it, but that sucks. Phoenix finally coming in and doing something, and considering there are 4 Cyclones, it's kind of nice that they're doing anything at all. Missile turrets as well. Cyclones nearly... Oh, they will get that kill. I said they were nearly going to get that injured Phoenix lock on, which also would have been a kill, but now they got a kill on a fresh Phoenix, and they injured another one significantly. I don't know. Harstem supply is totally fine. Spirit's getting some of the victories in some of these minor battles, but it looks like Harstem supply-wise, his macro game, is really going fine. Again, properly defending and respecting the Cyclone push. Oh, there's now 2 Ravens. Okay. And then taking that third base, lickety-split, no unnecessary cancels on that. Sometimes that happens. You just don't realize the Terran army's moving faster and whatever. But really, the bones are looking good. Some of the extra flash, and losing a Phoenix is never excusable, okay? But, you know, some of the extra flashiness might not be looking so hot right now for Harstem, but the bones are good. The foundation is great. Second Colossus popping out in the nick of time. We do have interference matrix, though, and those... That's 2 less Colossus in the battle, however. Happens a little bit farther away from the real fights, I would say. The shield batteries were there to back up against 2. The Nexus was not in danger at all. Neither were the probes. 2 Immortals still packing a punch as well, ensuring that the army doesn't get overwhelmed without those Colossus. And that was exactly what you'd want to do. You know, with the Ravens, with an Interference Matrix, you do have to accept losing 2 of your biggest, baddest units. But can you keep them alive? And if you can keep them alive, can you wait out the Interference Matrix is a big question. It's maybe the question of any of the Raven plays. And that worked out. Harstem did lose a couple of probes to Harassment in the main base. A Liberator, by the looks of things. I completely missed it. Paul Wilson TV, they give you the 8 months. But that is okay. His economy was actually very good compared to Spirits when the attack started. At this point, it's better for Spirit, but that's just the nature of things. Harstem's 4th base, about 40% done. Is starting to add probes back on. We might see it even go up to 75 or 80. Phoenix are actually going to scout that Spirit's taking an on-location 4th command center. There might not be much that Harstem can do about it, although he is going to try. But it is nice to scout it. Scan reveals the army movement slightly, I believe. Oh, that was so close to being one shot. And now the one of mine has popped. That's not going to help the high ground defense with the main base also under attack thanks to a War Prism. Spirit's going to have to, I think, cancel this base. No, he's not. He's going to try and hold it. Interference Matrix still very much worth it. 2 Colossus taken out of the engagement. Just not enough firepower without them. Even with them, this Concave is going to be quite good. EMP on top of the Archon gets popped instantly. Another EMP on top of the Immortals, I believe. Archon is tanking like a boss, but finally goes down. Colossus as well. And these are the last few units of the Protoss. Now the main base is still under trouble. That's what Spirit sacrificed to actually take that on. He did not send the appropriate number of units to the main base to stop this, and Harstem has picked up on that. Also one of the reasons that Harstem didn't have reinforcements on the front line, right? Which would have tipped that battle. Instead, he was investing into the main base harassment. Seems to be, I'm not sure the appropriate call. It's not more appropriate or less appropriate. I think that actually was just a split decision right there. The War Prism on the front lines could have also been really brutal. But having the War Prism in the main is what happened. 17 SCVs go down, a trade on the army at the very least, and the War Prism lives, which is probably the best thing about this. So, unless that War Prism on the front lines literally ended the game, probably better at that War Prism in the main base. I think that is actually the more appropriate call after thinking it through. And that means that Harstem makes up for what was overall a bit of a lost frontal attack. Just a lot of expensive units went down. And, you know, there were Zealots invested into this that died as well in the main base. Don't forget that. So the supplies are kind of even. And actually, what I'm worried about now, looking at this drop, the drop is one thing. Easy recall defense, no issue. The upgrades. That was what I was looking at. The upgrades currently pretty brutally in favor of the Terran, but no huge engagements is upcoming by the looks of it. I can't believe this lived. I really thought Spirit was going to abandon ship on this. But this lived. This turns to a planetary. It's mining easily. They both really expand at the same time now thanks to that. But yeah, no chance for Spirit to come across the map with the entirety of his army and abuse those 2-1 upgrades versus just the +1, which means that Harstem's Double Forge is going to actually complete 2-1 of its own. Now, depending on the chronos, we could have a 3-2 versus 2-1 situation. That Spirit would still be in advantage of, but we'll see. We're also kind of moving away from... You're never moving away from upgrades, but the more disruptors you have, the more chances the upgrades don't matter. And we are moving over into disruptors, although very, very, very slowly. We did lose a Colossus earlier on, so we replaced one of them. Might be trying to go up to a 3rd one as well. Actually, going to just say forget the Colossus. I think that is probably the better call. Even though we'd have never actually had any Vikings produced, the 2 Ravens have been alive this entire time. 12.5 minutes, 2 Ravens alive after multiple engagements. That doesn't happen every single time. And these 2 Ravens are even healthy with a lot of energy, and obviously still with the Interference Matrix upgrade. So, man, that's actually really useful. I mean, the likelihood of this happening seems so low. That's why I'm in disbelief. Because if this were guaranteed to live throughout the entirety of a StarCraft 2 game, if 2 Ravens were just invulnerable, well, yeah, you'd go for that in Matrix instead of flipping expensive Vikings that take up your medevac time? Of course. Hey, there we go. One of the Ravens does get shot down, but the first one still had 2 interference matrix. Look how big that bio ball is. Oh my god. The disruptor shot though. Oh my god, it actually hit. Oh, Spirit distracted. Didn't even try to avoid that because he was looking back at home. Mass amount of zealots entering into the natural and perhaps the main base as well. Spirit knew that his army overall was collapsing on the Protoss army. There was no doubt about that. He was going to take the advantage while he got it, but the disruptor, that he couldn't think about it. He could not pay attention to it. If there were more disruptors, Terran army is entirely dead, I swear. The disruptors all would have hit. But instead, Spirit's distracted. Spirit making some tough choices. Now focusing on his main army entirely, but without the matrices, the Colossus are now adding in some much needed damage. That'll be an evacuation from Spirit, but after his natural and main gets ransacked as well. It'd be very different if he cleaned up the Zealots, no problem. But 25 SCVs, a lot of reinforcements probably dying in inefficient ways. Spirit supply is in the gutter. The upgrade lead, I think it was actually in effect for some of the previous battles. At least the +3 attack, I believe. Another reason why Spirit was just like, let's go, 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 go. But the Colossus were allowed to be involved in the engagement again. Army was no longer easy A move. Only about a 15 army supply difference. Disruptors miss, and perhaps Spirit can get one hell of an engagement. His Raven is still alive, but it just used the disable. Disruptors seemed a little bit vulnerable. Both, oh my god, all 3 of them went down. A 4th one comes in, however, tries to go for the strike and will find it. That last one did kill quite a few units, because up until that, I actually believed in Spirit, to be honest. 2-2 versus 3-2. Spirit also managing to grab +2 ship weapons. His Vikings are pretty impressive, but Liberators are really what he needs. Great split away from the Disruptor. Some army on the left side targeting that War Prism. It's going to go down, but Charge Lots reinforcing from downtown should do the trick. The Marauders cannot kill those Zealots fast enough. We still have an Immortal in play as well to have focus fire down those Marauders, and Disruptors are at the very least causing some crowd control issues. Whenever the bio is dodging away from the Disruptors, they end attacking. And Harstem is on 5 bases rather comfortably, working his way up to his own 3-3 at this point. He will be winning this game. Spirit not able to deflect the War Prism, not able to deal with the Zealot run-bys well enough. Pays the ultimate price. This will be an even score. Although the Zealots kind of need to be protecting these Stalkers. The Disruptors also kind of need to shoot. Well, you know, there's... okay, there we go. That was a good split. That was a good split. It's just like whenever they split, the Zealots should be getting connections. There we go. The Zealots were like, what? Hey? Huh? What's happening? Do you need us? Sorry. What the fuck, guys? What's the fuck? That is the only reason that Harstem supply dips this hard, in my opinion. I honestly think that 7 Zealots, I think it was, all being on the front lines right there, would have made that a win for Harstem. It was evenly upgraded. The Marauders do not kill Zealots very fast. Reinforcements were at a trickle for Spirit. No use overanalyzing. The point is, Harstem still had all this backbone, this foundation. So even if he didn't win right then and there, it doesn't really matter. Unless Spirit could counterattack in a way that killed all production and technology instantly. Where's the mulligan button? Okay, is Spirit just gonna go Super Saiyan? Spirit's kind of doing the thing. So far, so good, keeping that army alive. DTs were recognized earlier on, but there's only so much that Spirit can afford. So he was forced to lift that 3rd. I think he's got kind of a secret planetary. Yeah, no, actually, Harstem doesn't know about that corner base. This drop just killed a Nexus to the top right. Is looking to kill this one. It will not succeed, though. That's a lot of Stalkers, so this actually just got given up. This bio army is being protected, watched by a Phoenix, and will not be entering into the main base. If it did, it would have died. Harstem is going to win, despite some questionable moments. If Spirit had not lost such an economy, he lost so many workers. 83 SCVs have gone down. If he loses half of that, He would have still been mining off of about 3 bases with the planetaries protecting themselves, ideally. You know, then he would have been able to afford a missile turret. And then, you know, there was a point where there were only 40 supply in difference, and I think twice the worker count would have, not bridged that, but it would have gotten a lot closer. And this is why Spirit's in the game. He's going to catch a free Colossus, by the way. No stim necessary. Oh, no stim necessary. Because he was not protecting that planetary no matter what he did. All of his medevacs were going to the main base. Some stalkers are available, not a whole lot. Does one-shot one of the medevacs, but the rest of the army is going to get down here. Issue would be, yeah, recall is absolutely available. You can go into the main base and kill whatever you can find, but what would even be the best kill here? I guess pylons. Dark Shrine, probably. Especially if it went into a base trade, which I don't think is going to happen. And there we go. We finally have Spirit tapping out. He is not one to just give up a game. If there is a tiny chance that he can come back, he will stick in it and he will go Super Saiyan. Unfortunately, this is that episode where Super Saiyan was proven to be completely useless, you know, like against like Cell or someone. Against the androids, that's what it is. The first androids were scared of the Super Saiyans. But 17, 18, they come out and they're like, we don't even care about Super Saiyans. The final game on Alcyone. In the bottom left, it is Navi's Spirit. In the top right, we do have Shopify Rebellion's Harstem. Harstem takes advantage of the map in general. The close by air position, which is not very close, but it is completely untraversal? Is there even a -2? Intraverse? No, that's not right. Okay, I'm gonna give up on this one. So, whatever I was talking about. You can't put ground army to the left. You cannot traverse that side of the map on the ground. And, that can be taken advantage of by both parties, either a War Prism or by medevacs, and they both tried, but the War Prism was far more effective, and not going to want to start any balance complaints or comparisons. That is what happened. Harstem's War Prism got in the main base pretty easily the first time around. That was just good old, not turtling as of yet. Too much action, too much resources going into other things. But then, I would say the second time, it looked like it just simply was not seen. There's a little portion in that natural that you have to put a supply depot over to cover. And, maybe at that point, you can kind of start to blame Spirit more, because War Prisms were doing bad things to him. So, maybe extra protection would have been warranted. There's also an argument that you can't really do much about dealing with a War Prism, aside from just straight up killing it, which you're not so much in control of. There's also some nice movement from the Protoss as well, not to, dumb down Harstem's victory just to a War Prism doing well. It was definitely the main component, but he also positioned his army. He survived the first 5 minutes I was talking about really well, that even though Spirit seemed to be gaining all these little wins, it didn't actually end up mattering. Harstem played a really strong foundational PvT type of macro game, and it absolutely paid off. And then used the good old 1-2 punch to great effect. War Prism in the main, attack on the front. Spirit, as a Terran player, I gotta give it. I think of my own games, and I'm like, it's pretty impressive that he chose not to cancel that planetary and to try and split defend. Was it the wisest choice? Hard to say. Maybe he should have just defended his main and his natural and restarted the 4th elsewhere. But it was like a really cool thing for him to try and do, even if it wasn't the best. It really is hard to say if it is or is not. Now, both players playing some fine TvP. This is what it's coming down to. Why they're matched up 1-1. This Reaper, though, finally coming into play after both the last games didn't go for a Reaper. And so it sees that it is an Oracle coming. Okay, how did it not see that? Oh, the Reaper decided not to dive towards the, honestly, like the only position a tech could be, a tech structure could be. There's 3 pylons. Where's the 3rd one? Okay, no, never mind. It could be down there. But very likely it's over here, because this is always the first pylon. 3 probes go down and the Reaper lives. Okay, I gotta give credit to that Reaper. It might not have scouted that there's a Stargate, but after killing 3 probes, it lives. And then a Stargate's really not the worst thing to be surprised by, I would say. The Oracle doesn't tend to kill Terrans, you know, even if it was proxied. It's just something that the Spirit, well, now knows because it would have hit already. But yeah. Either you get 4 Marines, which is not hard to get, or a Cyclone, which you have in a lot of openers. Case in point. You know, whether that's an Oracle or a Phoenix, obviously both don't really matter. If it was Blink, then more importantly, Spirit's Reaper would be scouting more soccer warp-ins, more gateways being warped in as well, you know, and you didn't need to technically see this one structure back here. So... yeah, Spirit, like I said, sometimes it looks like he gets less information than other pros, and I'm sure in some cases that is just the truth. He actually does have less information and less scouting. But sometimes it's just a lot about the things you don't see that can still add up to knowledge, I guess. And for Spirit, he just took down that Oracle. He gets another good start in the opener. He does have a... interesting setup, though, right now. 2 Vikings popping out with a tank? I guess he really doesn't want to take Viking damage. I can't see him doing a push with this. So I guess he just really doesn't want to take any of the Phoenix damage. So, and Medivacs right now aren't that useful. So there is certainly some logic to that. The starport... yeah. 4 Vikings? So, I wonder... if he's literally just going to make non-stop Vikings. I think I've seen him do this before. I mean, I'm talking almost no Medivacs. This Medivacs being aggressive, but it does have Cyclones. Going to catch one Phoenix. Just barely doesn't. Spirit, really on point today. He's been chasing things around with Medivacs all series long. Putting that little bit of extra effort in. Doesn't succeed here, but... yeah, I'm wondering if he just makes non-stop Vikings. And then, obviously... 9 times out of 10, they're going into Phoenix Colossus, not Phoenix Charge. Technically, Spirit doesn't know that, but that is what's happening. Except Harstem, that's what I was going to say. Like, the Vikings, yes, they're going to be able to kill both Phoenix and Colossus, and ideally, the more you have, the faster it happens as well. But if it's seen by said Phoenix, then the option to go in Disruptors instead of Colossus is there. And then the Phoenix... you know, can choose whether or not to engage the Vikings. Because if they're protecting Colossus, then that's their job, protect Colossus. If it's Disruptors that aren't hit by Vikings in the air, the Phoenix can say, like, nah, bro, you're good. Like, we're just going to stay right over here. To some degree. They should probably still be involved in the actual fight, because Spirit is coming in with a good army. It just is so much more medevac-less than we would expect. This Observer has also been a real pain. These Disruptors just waiting for the opportunity. Oh, he wants the big shot with the Disruptor. He wants it so bad. The Vikings are providing a little bit of that advanced vision, but I don't know if they've actually seen the Disruptors as of yet. Spirit's taking a 3rd CC behind this positioning. I think that Scam must have seen the Disruptor. Well, the Vikings have, obviously. Disruptors would not want to chase too much. A little chase is probably fine. Yeah, only, a couple of Marauders here. Gonna go down super quickly. And this Observer is really obnoxious. This is a terrible Observer for the Terran. Because being able to know exactly what the army looks like and how it's moving is just, it's so good. I like this from Spirit a lot. He's like, okay, you don't have any Colossus for my Vikings to shoot down? F you. I'm just going to put my Vikings in the main base. It's his own little War Prism right now, getting some revenge for the last game. Coming with a Concave on the main armies. The Disruptors are as useless as possible. And this was a really good maneuver from Spirit. He's going to overwhelm the army, and Harstem could not deal with the multi-pronged attack, something that Disruptors are notoriously poor against. And while the Medivacs get rid of the option of Doom Drops, Vikings are the Doom Drop. Suck it. No, that was actually... I feel like I was constantly one step behind, which is fine. Like, I knew how things would look like, but I was still one step behind because I forgot that there was an option for the Vikings to just try and distract. And, you know, whether or not they are a distraction or a legitimate fighting force, which is what ended up being the case, like that is something that a disruptor-based Protoss army is going to struggle with. You know, even Colossus have the cliff walk, so they could have responded faster. All right, so Reyna did defeat Christianer, which means we're going lickety-split into our next best of 3. That's how I like it. No pauses in the Open Cup. Just a little one while they beat out.